I'm Sister Leonie Shanley, a Sister of St. Joseph from northwestern Pennsylvania. The Federation of the Sisters of St. Joseph has initiated a series of reflections on aging in the charism. The second in this series is focusing on the virtue of zeal. Father Madiah gave to those first women in Le Puy the model to follow of the two Trinities, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. And in looking at that, we have discovered that in the constitutions from the 17th century, it is very clear that zeal is of great importance. Those constitutions say that we are trying to imitate the zeal of Jesus in his untiring move to bring about the salvation of souls. In our own constitutions from the 21st century, we say we are one with Jesus who works untiringly for the kingdom of God. So you see, zeal has a prime place when we talk about aging in the charism. We have invited 3 sisters to share with us their instances of untiring zeal. We 4 have been in the community for more than 60 years. The 4 of us have served together in the ministry and responsibilities of congregational leadership in the past. So there's a lot of history here. And also, I know their stories are their realities. So could we introduce ourselves? Let's begin with you, Sister Anastasia.
Thank you, Sister Leonie. Father Madiah wrote, "Seek out the hidden life of Jesus as far as the activities of zeal allow." I'm Sister Anastasia Valamond. I'm 88 years old and have been in the community for 70 years. Most of my active ministry has been in healthcare. Originally, I was at Spencer Hospital in Meadville. This was established by Mother Agnes Spencer, who was our founder, and it was named after her. While I was there, I worked in many departments, such as medical, surgical, nursing, obstetrics, operating room. And then I taught in the School of Nursing and eventually became the director of the School of Nursing until we closed the school after graduating almost 1,000 nurses. Then my remaining years in active ministry were at St. Mary's Home. Now, St. Mary's Home is another ministry of the Sisters of St. Joseph, and we're celebrating 125 years of existence here in Erie. The home, now in 2 locations, has a variety of services, from independent living to assisted living, skilled care. We have an adult daycare program and also Alzheimer's units in each facility. In all of these involvements, there were opportunities which I considered to be a blessing, a gift, opportunities to minister to the sick, the aging and their families, as well as employees and students. Fostering zeal in everyone whose lives have been touched by us has been a major ministry for me.
I'm Sister Kathleen Kirsch. I've been a Sister of St. Joseph for 60 years. I'm 82 years old. I was taught by Sisters of St. Joseph in grade school, high school, college, and all the time that I went to school, I liked school and I loved the sisters. I think that the sisters taught us zeal before we knew the meaning of the word. I think that when we wrote JMJ on our papers or AMDG on our papers, when we said, "Offer thee, sweet Jesus," we were manifesting the love that we were being taught by their example and their teaching. I thought about being a sister even when I was in grade school from the example of the sisters that I really loved. And I was glad when I was able to enter in 1949. I thought sisters were either teachers or nurses, and I thought that I would be a teacher. I taught for a couple of years, and in the meantime, Monsignor James Powers, who was the director of Catholic Charities, was thinking that sisters would be a stable staff for his offices. So for several years, a few sisters were sent away to get degrees in social work, and I was one of them. After graduation, I came back to the Erie office and worked as a caseworker, counseling adults and children, and placing children for adoption and foster care. Living at St. Joseph's Home, where the office was located, and sharing community with Sisters of St. Joseph there, who were so generous in their care of the children. After about 13 years, Monsignor Powers wanted a branch office in a different part of the diocese, and I volunteered to go there to do that. When I walked into the office space in Du Bois, the only thing there was a telephone sitting on the floor. Now, we had done a lot of planning ahead of time, and amazingly, within a few days, we had, and a few telephone calls, we had office furniture, office supplies, a secretary, and a car. And a Catholic Charities office that was ready to serve 5 rural counties of central Pennsylvania, the eastern part of the diocese. And what was so well, everything was impressive, but what was so impressive was the friendliness and generosity of the dear neighbor in that area. And it gave me a new appreciation of the kinds of help that our early sisters must have had when they were starting so many new things. 4 years later, I returned to Erie and began to work in the community mental health department of St. Vincent Health Center, working with a whole new group of fine professionals, counseling people who were so humble and sincere about their need for help. I stayed there 12 years, and then I became the department head for a new department at the health center of home care, and met another wonderful group of people, nurses, aides, therapists, who were willing to go out in all kinds of eerie weather, climbing in and out of their cars 6 or 7 times a day to visit their patients. One of the coldest days that Erie ever had was 18 degrees below zero, and every one of them came to work. No excuses. Beautiful. And the office staff was as zealous as the professionals were. Medical help was wonderful. And I think that as I look at all of those things, my own zeal was increased, fostered, strengthened by the zeal of the beautiful, beautiful people I have worked with all my life here. It's been wonderful. I'm grateful.
I'm Jean Baptiste Deluzio. I'm 80 years old and have been a sister of this congregation for 65 years. My background is much like Kathleen's. We went to the same grade school, high school, and college together. Different years, though. When I listened to her story of her ministries, mine is very simple. I've been in education from elementary school to college, and I have also been in my present ministry, which is within the diocese in the Marriage Tribunal. You know, Leonie, you talked about the constitutions of the Sisters of St. Joseph, our own constitutions, and zeal. The core constitution of all the CSSJs states, as far as possible, we imitate Jesus in his untiring zeal to bring about the kingdom of God. As I began to prepare for this conversation we're having today, I decided to look and to find out what Webster says about zeal. And he gives some definitions, and one of them is fervor, eager desire or endeavor, enthusiastic diligence. I've been thinking about how this core value of zeal has played out in my life. Fervor. Who of us doesn't remember the fervor and the excitement of the first ministry we were assigned to? Mine was education. I taught in elementary schools for a few years, and then I was assigned to high school classes. I was then assigned to a prep school for boys, where I spent the next 25 years of my life. In those years, I really tried to instill in the students that I had in school some core values and life values. All the while I was trying, and I emphasize the word trying, to teach them Spanish. Teaching Spanish to resisting high school boys who are more interested in science and math and sports, and not necessarily in that order. Just recently, I met a former student who is also a teacher, and he was very eager to tell me that he used something that I used to tell them to his students. When they balked at having to learn a foreign language, I used to say to them, even if you learn just a little Spanish, if I have taught you to tackle an unpleasant task and try to succeed at it, then I have taught you something for life. During the years that I was at prep, I also had a position in the congregation. And so I had to try to juggle teaching and some administration, wearing two hats and trying to keep the zeal in my life. The four of us did that for 4 years together, and I think we did a pretty good job.
We did.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. I think your reference to those 4 years bring back some very happy but challenging memories, and thank you. And Sister Anastasia, let's continue with your reminiscing here.
I have also been involved as a member of many professional organizations and found that the involvement on boards became yet another opportunity for me in our mission of zeal for souls. Since my retirement from full-time ministry, I have continued associations with a few organizations. One that has been very important to me is Rotary. For those of you who may not be familiar with it, Rotary is an international organization which Paul Harris, a Chicago businessman, began almost 100 years ago. The objective of Rotary then and now is to encourage and foster the ideals of service as a basis for any worthy enterprise. Originally, it was a club for men only, and about 25 years ago, when women became more active as business executives, they permitted women to become members. And I was pleased to become a member 22 years ago, and I was the fourth member in the Erie Club, fourth female member in the Erie Club. I, as well as members of this organization, foster zeal by providing humanitarian service, by promoting high ethical standards in our professional life, help build goodwill and peace in the world, all in service of the good dear neighbor.
Thank you, Anastasia. Let's pick up from there, Kathleen.
I told you about my work at St. Vincent, which was really wonderful and beautiful. After that, I retired from full-time work and did some part-time work at the International Institute, where we were resettling refugees from war-torn countries in Europe and Africa. I was impressed there by the people who called themselves survivors and could tell us stories of the trauma that they experienced and how they did manage to survive. After working there for 7 years, part-time, I retired again, and now I volunteer at St. Vincent Health Center. It's another beautiful experience, really. I volunteer on the endoscopy and colonoscopy floor. I manage to collect and organize about 80 different items, like 7 kinds of pop and 5 kinds of juice and 7 different colors of wristbands and various types of bedding. And none of it is very, it's not important individually. It's not high tech. But when it's in its proper place, nurses don't have to open cupboards, they don't have to rummage in drawers, they don't have to walk down the long hall to the supply room. Nurses and patients don't have to wait for service. Things go very smoothly. I make the coffee and the hot water for the tea and the hot chocolate, make sure that all the supplies are there that you need for hot chocolate and tea and coffee. Fill the blanket warmer.
Kathleen, those blankets are such a very comfort to those of us who have been there.
It's my pleasure. I love to do it. I like them too. If supplies are running low, I might go down to the food and nutrition department to get supplies. I might take that long haul to the supply room for linens and so forth. And if the nurses get extra busy and I get behind in their work, I might strip a bed, wash a bed, make a bed. And if things are not that busy, I might help the secretary by collating forms for charts or photocopying things. And the things I do say nothing about the knowledge and the skill of the doctors and nurses who are the really important people in those departments. And patients have little or no idea of all of the planning and work that goes on before they have their procedures. But when they're discharged, they often tell the nurses how nicely things went, how comfortable they were. When I discharge them, take them to the door in a wheelchair or walking, they often tell me how well things went and how pleased they are, and this is a good hospital, which makes me feel real good. And they often talk about sisters they have had that they know now or have had in the past, and even in grade school sometimes. And they're glad that sisters are associated in some way with St. Vincent Hospital. And when I reflect on it, it makes me think that this is all a very good return for the few hours that I invest there. And I'm thankful that I'm able.
Kathleen, your one comment about what you're doing not being important, it's part of the backbone of St. Vincent Health Center. And I think that you need to realize that.
It's a pleasure. I'm thankful that I'm able to do it. The things that I do are really very ordinary. And they take no knowledge, no special knowledge or training. that amounts to anticipating the needs of nurses and patients. And it takes me back to high school, when Sister Brenda Marie used to tell us, anticipate the needs of others.
We've learned that lesson well, I think. Jean.
As I age and as religious life is renewed, I find that zeal or enthusiastic diligence, which is another one of Webster's definitions, take on as its companions compassion and understanding. In my present ministry as an auditor in the Marriage Tribunal, which I began 25 years ago and which I now do part-time, has been very rewarding to me. So many souls are hurting from broken relationships in their lives and seeking some understanding and some help from the church. I feel privileged to be able to listen to them compassionately and to lead them through the annulment process. I have a real passion for this ministry. A sister who was contemplating a position in the tribunal a couple of years ago asked me in an interview, what gets you to work in the morning? And my response to her immediately was, the people who walk through that door who are hurting and seeking someone to help them. So as long as I have strength of mind and body, I'll continue in the ministry.
Thank you, Jean. Talking about helping with broken relationships, that's one of the mainstays of the Sisters of St. Joseph, is that relational episode among people. So you're right there. Thank you. Anastasia.
Well, as I age and am unable to continue those ministries of my youth and middle age, I have developed some creative ways of continuing contact with people. My zeal today is best demonstrated in a presence to and with people. But now I do this mainly by means of telephone and mail. Many of the people I reach are those living at a distance, maybe still living at home but confined, and often alone. Some of them are ill and lonely. They may be family, previous students, business or professional associates. The personal touch is even more important and appreciated in their world today. These contacts offer me opportunity to talk, to listen, and to be a presence, and to allow me to fulfill Father Madia's exhortation, manifestation of zeal, of total union of myself and the dear neighbor with God.
You know, Anastasia, Jean started out in her first piece of conversation quoting from Webster, and she really situated ourselves in our conversation with the quote from Webster that defined zeal. I think your definition just defines zeal as a sister of St. Joseph. So with that help and Webster's help, I think we're on the right track here. Thank you. Kathleen?
I've been thinking of the zeal that Sister Anastasia has introduced us to. I'm thinking of all of the associates we have from Meadville, from the days, how many years back, that you had these people as students or as associates at work or in the community, and what a fine group they have become, and how nobly they have established and supported St. James Haven. Isn't that zeal in action?
The influence began many years ago.
Many years ago.
Probably began in 1860, when you think of it.
Right.
That is so true. And Jean?
Well, as I look to my short future, as a sister of St. Joseph, and to my own physical diminishment. I have taken as my prayer these words of Dom Helder Camara, and I think that they work in so well with the challenge that Father Medaya has given us regarding zeal. God, permit that the symbol of my life be a candle that burns itself, spends itself, consumes itself, while there is still wax to burn.
Thank you, Jean. That really sums it up. And the fact that we still have wax to burn is a good sign, I think.
And I hope we have a lot more wax to burn.
Well, thank you very much. The three of you have really shared so much of your recent moments that really are an inspiration for all of us, and even for me who know you so well. And I do want to thank also the audience that we are having, because I think in sharing their intimate stories of their past lives and their moments now really should encourage you, our audience, to recognize in yourself those wonderful moments of life-giving energy that you continue to have as you advance in age in the charism. And I do want to thank you for that. Thank you.